I'm going to be reviewing my 14-inch M2 Pro MacBook Pro. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Isaac Leonard. I'm a cinematographer and filmmaker, and I show you why gear matters. I love this computer. This computer is basically the lifeblood of what all I do. It's a phenomenal device that Apple has really perfected and I think is exceptional. I use this computer more than I use a camera because you need to do all your pre-production, all your planning, write-ups, all that stuff, editing, coloring. This thing can do it all, and it's phenomenal. I think Apple really perfected the external design of this. This computer is very small, lightweight, but still big enough to be able to cool itself. I love the ports. You have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports and then a MagSafe, which I'm so glad they're keeping, and an HDMI port. I literally use all these ports, including that SD card slot, like almost every day. No USB-A, but I have already kind of taken USB-A out of my life, other than these desktop drives that you see here. Now, I opted for the 12-core CPU and the 18-core GPU with 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD. If there was anything I would change, I would say, like everyone, get more RAM. RAM has been my biggest bottleneck, but the reason why I'm going to upgrade in 3 years is going to be the RAM, honestly, because these CPU and GPUs are so great. I hit the limit occasionally, but not very much. It takes a lot of effort to really hit that limit. In terms of display, I think this display is phenomenal. However, the notch on the 14-inch is much more of an issue than the 16. You can't ever see all of your menu bar items in DaVinci Resolve, which really pisses me off.
The screen is so small on the 14-inch that when you go to select through anything, even in Premiere for an example, you have to go through the notch to do it.
If you're gonna have the notch, put Face ID in there, Apple, and if not, make it edge to edge or make it closer. Like, there's so much space that you could at least, increase the screen a little bit or move the camera up, or I don't know. I love the color. I mean, I wish I got space black, obviously, but that was not out when I had to purchase this. And there's not a ton of regrets I have. That being said, some of the issues that I've experienced with this computer are necessarily codec based. So playing back long op files is much harder. I edited some Fuji X-H2S footage about a year ago on it, not realizing why it's stuttering, why it's terrible. I had to make a bunch of proxies. Now, I opted for the 12-core CPU and the 18-core GPU with 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD. If there was anything I would change, I would say, like everyone, get more RAM. RAM has been my biggest bottleneck. On an M1 Max that I've used before, there's no issue. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. However, I think All-I is still better codec, so I've just always shot that on all of my projects. I have thrown every codec and camera at this. I've thrown Canon, Sony, Fuji, Panasonic, Red, ARRI, and it all handles it very nicely. I'm personally against a proxy workflow because I do such short projects with short turnaround times, so if I have to wait for proxies to render, it kind of pisses me off. This computer, I rarely ever made a proxy on it. I've tried it before, and it's a nice way, if you have the time and the storage, to really make those proxies, but it's just a little frustrating to do, and I think it's another thing that slows you down. That being said, if you were to do a project maybe over 10 minutes, you're gonna definitely want proxies on here just so you can maintain that timeline performance. Now let's talk about crashes. So for the first year, I had no hiccups whatsoever. Then I made this year's demo reel, which had all these backup drives. I had about 160 terabytes plugged into all the different dongles and stuff. And I had my first ever crash, like major crash with DaVinci on it. And it was so bad that I ended up editing it on an M1 Max. It's that RAM, that unified memory was being maxed out and it couldn't render everything on the timeline. Aside from that, after updating to macOS Sequoia, I have DaVinci crash so much now. I have Premiere kind of crash too. Do not like Sequoia. I am going to actually wipe my computer in the new year and probably go back. Another thing to note is I take this computer with me wherever I go. And that's why I like the 14-inch. The 14-inch is small, nimble. It's able to really be, kind of your companion. So if you're looking to kind of get one-stop solution, this is the way to do it. I have a monitor back at my apartment. I can go home, dock it in, get my editing done on a big 27-inch screen, and then anything else I can do on the go. I've taken this thing everywhere. I take it across the city. I've edited in airports. I've edited in cafes. I've edited it at other jobs before, and it's really great. I don't think you understand how good Apple Silicon has gotten where I go to PCs. Oh, our graphics workstations can handle that. Top of the line Alienware spec, HP top of the line spec. And it struggles to play back, basic H.264 footage. It struggles to color it. There's timeline stutter. This computer is exceptional in what it does. This computer far outperforms all the other computers. And in value for money, this has been an investment, and I completely have had a giant return on investment. So definitely in the next year, definitely in the next 3 years when I'm upgrading away from this computer, I'm gonna spend more money because that money is gonna make itself back very quickly. I actually have tried a little bit of gaming on it. It is so janky. I use Crossover and I basically use it to play 3 games. It's pretty much Watch Dogs 2, which doesn't work, Age of Empires, and SimCity. SimCity works, Age of Empires works, Watch Dogs 2 does not. My issue has kind of been you have to go on GitHubs and spend all these hours and get the code to work and get it optimized, and Age of Empires works and it plays and I don't need GeForce Now for it. It's so frustrating at the fact that you can't install Windows on this thing. I would love if Apple and Microsoft could finally put Boot Camp on here, because I feel like then you could just buy this and you would be totally set. You'd have a cool Windows PC that you could do all your Windows stuff on, boot back over to macOS, do all your productive, your video editing, all your stable stuff, and then if you wanted to game, you would just go back into Windows. However, that ship has kind of sailed, and I'm not terribly annoyed with it. I mean, really, I got this thing to edit video and for school, and so the capability that this machine has far outperforms what anything else really does. And while there are some gripes with it, and it does get kind of hotter because it's a 14-inch, for the most part, it's been phenomenal and I've loved it. Would I recommend this? Yes. I would recommend if you have extra cash to spend it on more RAM. However, this computer is still pretty silent, has exceptional battery life. I get about 14 hours of battery life if I am using it just like web browsing, and then for video editing, I get about 4 to 5 hours, which is really quite good. I have put about 185 cycles on this computer, and I'm at like 89 or 85% maximum capacity. I've been very impressed by this computer. I think Apple has done a great job with Apple Silicon. The only gripes, obviously, that's pretty popular is no removable storage when the storage inevitably fails, and also its lack of upgradability entirely. That's also kind of made me a little annoyed. I'm willing to really put my money and, put my job tied to this thing. So if you like this review, thank you for watching. Leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next one.